Monday, April 17th. I call this meeting of the Wichita County Commissioners Court to order. Everybody please stand, and I'm going to give the invocation this morning. Holy Father, thank you for the opportunity to be here, for all of us to serve in the capacity, to serve our community. Pray that you would help us all to remember that you're on your throne and you're in control. And I pray that you would help us to remember why we do what we do and who has put us in these positions. Pray that as we discuss and make decisions this morning, that we would be guided by wisdom and that we would be led by you in those discussions and in that decision making. Pray that you would protect our first responders as well as our military, all of whom are putting themselves on the line for us and for our countrymen every day. And Lord, pray that you would be at work drawing people together rather than pulling us apart in political polarization and in a time where we do seem to be fragmenting. I pray that we would be agents of bringing people together and that you would be at work in that. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, if you'll join me as we pledge the U.S. flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the pledge to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, everyone may be seated. All right, do we have any presentations that are unannounced? Okay. Then it is currently 10:04 a.m. and we'll open up this time for public comment. As a reminder, we ask that public comment time be limited to 5 minutes or less, and the court cannot take action on any items brought up during this time. Do we have anyone who wishes to make public comment?
Me, Judge.
Oh, yes.
Just wanted to congratulate the citizens of Iowa Park. I attended the groundbreaking on Saturday of their new fire station and new police department. It is much needed in that community. There was a committee that was assembled a number of years ago, and then the COVID deal kind of intercepted that. But they've done great planning and great work, and it's going to be a great asset to that community. Enjoyed getting to see members of the community and the police department and the fire department, and as luck would have it, right in the middle of the groundbreaking of the fire department, they were toned out and had to go on an EMT call. But these are the people that work for us in our community. They don't mind. They get in the unit and go. That's what they do, and they do a good job of it. So congratulations to Iowa Park. I think that's going to be a great addition to the town.
Good deal. Anyone else have public comment? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, it's 10:05 and public comment is closed. This time we will move on to the consent agenda.
And I have one item on number 11. After talking to the county clerk, for right now, I'd like to pull 11 off the agenda.
Okay. Anyone have any objection to that?
That is nothing needed for the upcoming election, or you still got time?
I will say that this scanner is out of warranty without this maintenance package in place, so if anything happens, they will be covered.
In that case, it's already out of warranty right now.
That is correct.
The issue we're having right
But they
now.
will backdate it to January 1, so.
The issue is right now, we actually only know where there's one scanner sitting at.
So we don't know where the other two scanners are.
We're trying to find them. So there's no reason to be paying $1,800 for a cleaning kit for a scanner we're not sure that we actually own.
Well, could they be in the DA's office when we bought these originally?
Well, it shouldn't be. This is all elections equipment.
Scanners.
Just election scanners. We're not
This
calling
was-
them election scanners.
These are high-speed election scanners. They'll scan 50,000 copies a day.
Right, this was what we
They're
bought
not.
with the heart package with the machines for those.
Did they get moved out with the flood stuff, or?
No.
Look, there's an issue. I pulled the original contract. It says we have two, but the
Yeah, we
email
should
received from the vendor says
Yeah,
we have three.
The original
But I only
contract
find
only
one.
shows two.
So
Okay.
I'm gonna look at the warehouse and see if maybe by chance they're over there.
And
But
I
our
wouldn't
contract already
mind,
says we have two.
I wouldn't mind us going through with the maintenance agreement on one,
Right.
but there's no reason for us to be paying for, these cleaning kits are $1,800 a piece if you look at the, I don't know what's included in a cleaning kit, but we definitely don't need to be buying them if we only have one scanner.
Correct.
So is there a way to
But
enact the warranty on one?
yes, if y'all approve it, then I can still negotiate with them and then pay the bill next week, or we have to put this off a week. My only concern is that we could have damage to one of those scanners from the, you know, and it could be.
Can we change the motion to approve maintenance on the scanners that we do have possession of currently?
I would think so.
Okay, let's do that. That way we can get the maintenance
Or, I
done.
mean, I can just take it back.
Do you agree?
We just need to find
'Cause if
it
we
really
don't-
Weird way
quickly.
to-
That is weird.
I mean, we can pull it down to general business and then just write it as a new,
Let's
pull it down to
let's do
general
that.
and write it at the way we want it written in.
Well, I need to remove item 9. That's already been acted on.
Okay, good. I was gonna ask that question. I
Yeah,
thought
that was a miscommunication somewhere.
All right, did anyone have any objection to pulling down 11 to general business?
No.
Okay, and then any objection to pulling down 9 off the agenda completely?
No, that's good.
Okay.
And just a clarification on item 7, we did receive a Corian remnant. The reason the valuation is $1,200 is that replaces a bid for $1,200 to do the exact same thing. So he didn't actually give me the cost of that, but that was based on the bid that I received.
With those changes, make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, do we have any other questions on the consent agenda? Do we have any public comment on consent agenda? Okay, the motion's been made by Commissioner Buchanan, seconded by Commissioner Beecham, to approve the consent agenda as changed. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. All right, let's go ahead and do the consent agenda item we pulled down to general business, and I'll read that. It's a motion to approve Cornell Incorporated quotes number 53574 for the renewal of maintenance agreement at a cost of $5,467.26 in a Canon eCare Pack on-site post-warranty for $3,810 for 3 Canon DRG2110 scanners for elections to be paid from Department 409 budget lines as determined by the county auditor.
And, Judge, could Nancy find on the agenda where we made the original purchase, maybe?
Yeah, I know we had
Microfiche?
more than
I
one.
think Annette has that.
I have the contract in the office. It only says we received 2. But the email says we have 3.
Yeah.
On the backup information, the $5,400, Cheryl, is that that's for 3 $1,800 items for the cleaning deals?
Yeah, so, and all the warranty that goes with it, the maintenance and.
But what is the warranty is for the $3,800 for 3 units?
It's on-site post-warranty, is that over and above, I guess, the maintenance?
Yes, that is my understanding.
Right, we've got a bundled service and then the individual item.
So do we just change the motion to an up to amount as required?
Because I really think we need to be negotiating
to
that
find
service,
the-
find out what's going on.
Yeah,
Because we're not, I think we're being billed for stuff that we don't have.
which they got directly from Hart, so that's.
So these scanners are Hart brand scanners?
This is the scanners we got with the brand new equipment last year.
Well, they're actually they're not a Hart brand, they're a Canon.
Whatever, yeah, they're
G2.
Canon, but they came from that Hart.
So they came in with our new voting equipment?
Yes.
Yes.
Ah,
But the original contract only shows 2. We only have 1 sitting on the table.
And an email has 3.
Yeah, I know we were supposed to have at least 2 because we wanted to have
We
the
wanted-
primary and the backup in
Yeah.
case the primary went
And
down.
that was the only reason we agreed to buy the second one.
And this does say 3, doesn't it, Judge?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think think the cleanest way and the best way to move on the motion is for it to be up to 3 scanners, which I think would give the auditor's office flexibility to.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, just up to that amount
Well,
as
I can tell you
necessary.
that this is $10,000 worth of stuff, and I think you can buy these new scanners for $4,000 apiece. So if we're spending that much in warranty and a cleaning kit, I don't know what's in the cleaning kit, but for $1,800, I don't know that we've ever cleaned one with a cleaning kit. Do you know?
I don't know.
That's what I find a little
Maybe
sad.
I'm not seeing the 10 grand. I'm looking at the,
Like 80. or
It's
90.
it's 9,000 or better.
yeah,
It's
but
92. Yeah.
It's still a lot of money when
Oh,
you're.
it's a different item.
oh,
Yeah, we got
okay.
two
I may be on the
different
wrong
ones.
invoice.
And
Yeah. it's
if
that
we
one.
haven't used the
That one right
scanners, we
there.
wouldn't need
Yeah,
the
so
cleaning
it's
kits for
3,800
the
times
unused
right.
scanners. Yeah,
Right.
so we only need one cleaning kit.
Oh,
So
okay.
we do
That
use that
makes
one
it-
scanner.
yeah, I was
That's
Yeah.
what we've been using.
I
Still
wouldn't-
need to find
Okay.
the other one.
Yeah,
But I
I
think
mean-
that it's also includes that on-site care or whatever, so if we don't pay for the one we're not using, if there's a problem with it, they're not gonna come fix it.
right.
That's, but no, if we only have 2,
But if we don't have it, we
Where's
don't
the
care
other
if they
one?
come fix it.
I'm gonna go to the warehouse and see what's out there, and I'll call you this afternoon. See if I find it.
So you wanna just clean it up and put up to 3 and leave it? But I would really like to still leave it up to Cheryl to negotiate and try to figure out what we're doing, because
I'd say just one cleaning kit, because if we don't use the other 2 scanners, have never used them, then why would we need to clean them yet? They only need to be cleaned after they've gone through a certain number of cycles.
it just depends on what's also included in that on-site care. I
The
mean,
cleaning
it's more
kit and
than just a
on-site
cleaning
care.
kit, to my understanding, so. But we can get more information.
Okay. All right.
Because there's a chance, it's as little as $1,800 for the one bundled service, and that's all we need. Or there's a chance it's up to
Mhm.
$9,200 for 3 of each of the things.
I'm with you, Judge. I think we should just make the motion up to and let
Up
Cheryl
to,
and Annette, get to where they need to be, feeling comfortable.
yeah, because I don't want to postpone any maintenance agreement and
Right,
have,
because we're out
but
of warranty, and so it got buried in Lori's emails, and then when it finally got redirected, we're in April, and so that equipment is out of warranty.
And we have an election coming up.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second the motion with up to 546726 for the care pack and 3810 for the,
it'd be 4124 on the other instead of 3810. You got tax.
Well, the tax will come off.
Yeah, it should come off.
Oh, yeah, yeah. 3810.
Okay. Do we have any other questions on that item? Do we have any public comment? All right, motion's been made by Commissioner Watts, seconded by Commissioner Beecham to approve these quotes up to 546726 and up to 3810 for up to 3 Canon VR GT 2110 scanners. Is that clear, Nancy? From the standpoint? Okay.
Clear as mud.
All right. The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. All right, that takes us to general business number 1. Public hearing on the readoption of the Wichita County guidelines and criteria for tax abatements and reinvestment zones. Let me lay this one out a little bit. If I can. All right, so this court approved and then reapproved in 2020 the tax abatement guidelines. And they sunsetted in June of 2022, which means we need to readopt them if we are going to be underneath that umbrella of what the guidelines are for the tax abatement. Just as an overview, y'all were all part of this discussion when it happened back in 2020. It includes the guidelines themselves. It also includes the application form, and there is a requirement of an application fee of $1,000 when folks who are looking for an abatement do their application. I will just remind everyone that these are guidelines. It's very clear in the document that all projects are open to negotiation, and Commissioner's Court has full discretion on the length of the abatements and the value for those abatements. Just like with any tax abatement that the county is going to consider, the broad goals of this are to encourage economic development and job opportunities, to contribute to the quality of life for Wichita County residents. This is a tool for competition because until everyone in the country is prohibited from offering incentives, and we all have to compete on that playing field. And I would just, something that seems oftentimes can get lost in the property tax abatement discussion, when these are done well and they are used to bring in business that wouldn't otherwise be here, that adds to the tax rolls, that helps drive down property taxes for every resident of Wichita County because it lowers the rate that everybody's paying. And I do want to ask the court to consider, we have left in the document you have on page,
They're not page numbered.
there are on the new ones, but you're right there. It is item 11 in Exhibit A. I think it's probably page 8 or so, and it's entitled Sunset Provision. It's gonna be higher than that, Mickey.
Higher.
Yes.
Title, sunset.
Did these,
Oh, below it. It's gonna be item 11.
Judge, have to follow a timeline?
Yeah, so that's what I wanted us to discuss. So the way that it reads is they'd be effective on the date that we choose, which is probably going to be today, if we pass it. And they'll remain in force until we need to decide on a date. I am going to suggest that we do this for 1 year. And I know that's a short time frame, but the reason I say that is the whole point of the sunset provision is to have us go back and look at the agreements that are in place to see if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And while y'all may just be better people than me, a lot of times, unless I have a deadline, stuff can get pushed. And so I think that from the standpoint, putting these in place for a year will give enough time for us to do that job and go back and look at those and give us have this in place for any new projects that might come up before us for the next year. So my suggestion would be to just do it for 1 year from when it's effective, but I just offer that as an idea. I'm open to.
Sure, I think that's smart.
I'm good with
And
that.
I had a question as well, Judge, and there may be a newer document, you said, than what we're looking at in our packets?
Morgan just added page numbers to a document.
Okay.
That would be the only change.
Well, if you'll look on item 2 in the document, there's a big C and a little c. I don't know why why that's labeled little c, but I wanted to get clarification there.
Okay. Under the formula section?
Yes.
Hold on, I think we got folks still finding it. It's gonna be on page
Not too far in.
Yeah, mine's not numbered.
page 4. It's gonna be pretty close to the top of the document.
Right there.
It's the section at the bottom of that page titled Formula in bold.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, so I've never been clear on the, this applies to the maintenance and operation portion of the tax rate and exempts road and bridge and INS. And I understand for why, but I'm thinking that we could be double dipping. And it's double dipping through truth in taxation. And so I don't want to take the INS portion from the abatement people and then be exempt from paying INS, or exempt or increasing, I should say, everybody else's INS to make good on this abatement and capturing it twice.
In the truth and taxation
Yes.
document.
Because that's ultimately what happens when tax is waived. It shifts the burden, so the tax is still collected, the debt payment is still calculated, and it may be fractions of pennies, but it's still calculated. But we then also collect it from the guy we elevated INS to make sure the debt is met, but then we're also collecting it from the abated person because we feel like we have to still make the debt payment.
We have to by statute. Those ones aren't exempt. You can't exempt those on the tax abatement.
I didn't think that was from the statute. I thought that was just our understanding of it.
I think it's by statute. We can't not collect the INS, those special ones. They're not exempted from the abatement.
Yeah, I thought we've had that discussion before, that INS and Road and Bridge set alone. that-
Right, because
We
they're
can't
set
abate
alone,
those.
they can't be abated. You
Well-
can abate the M&O part that's outside of that.
Yes, but you understand what I'm saying is occurring.
On
So-
the truth and taxation formula, are they being excluded?
If there was $1 million, I'm just picking a number, from INS into an abatement, we will raise the INS over here to make good for that $1 million. So we're made whole in making our debt payment, but we're still capturing this $1 million worth of INS that we don't have to spend on debt payment. That's what's occurring. And to my knowledge, the reason we started doing this is because Deb said, hey, why are you giving away your deal? But at the time, she was not involved in truth and taxation at all. And Willie Wall's telling me that the calculation takes that into account, Jeff. And so,
They should be running, when they're doing the truth and taxation statement, and anyone correct me if I'm wrong, they should be working with two different base
They are.
values. on
They're
that.
working with two different base values that come out of the appraisal district. One that has the abatements and one that doesn't have the abatements. So it should be correct in the calculation, which we can definitely check, but I don't think we are double dipping. The way
and,
that formula is set
and
up.
the road and bridge, I understood how that was specified, so, but, I just, I'm unclear on that.
We need to, and I don't think it matters for the purpose of this, because what's in the guidelines
yes.
is going to be true and regardless. I think
Sure.
what we need to make sure is that taxable value number that goes into that first line of the formula for M&O versus INS versus special road and
Right.
bridge, that it is actually capturing the full taxable value.
Right, yes, that's all that I'm worried
Okay.
about.
Which would
Okay.
be the one without the abatement.
So,
The
Correct.
two numbers we get, okay.
And the, should that be that C, little c?
Yeah, because
I didn't,
up above it, we've got the way that it's
Little A,
organized, we've got
little B.
yeah, subscript, or not subscript, but little a, little b, little c. That's how it's organized under 2. So 2A is abatement authorized and definitions. 2B is objective and subjective factors. 2C is formula, and so forth.
gotcha.
Yeah, it's,
I think it is a little, because the capital letters are used as
yes.
sub-items
Okay.
further in.
Judge, one of the good reasons to look at this on an annual basis, I think, is just in looking at it, I'm thinking back about discussions we had in the past, and we're not even showing a 10-year abatement on our plan here, which I think, if I remember correctly, we went back and adjusted away from a 10 to a 5 and a 7, which seems to be working a lot better. and the 10, I guess, represents the Texas. That's the max allowed by the state. That made it, we felt like when we redid this, it made us competitive, but it also is just a better way, better business for the taxpayers of Wichita County.
Yeah.
And I think looking at it on a year-to-year basis, you stay competitive, which really, truly, if you're not competitive in your abatements, you're not accomplishing anything anyway.
Right.
And it would be interesting to know from year to year what was left on the table. In other words, what did we miss? If is our abatement, that would tell us if our abatement's performing or not. And I don't know if that data is even available. It might be speculation as to what went somewhere else because they got a better deal. But it would still be interesting to know and adjust that. But I think that's a good reason in itself to review this on an annual basis to stay competitive and yeah, this abatement deal sounds good. If everybody would go away from it at the same time, we'd still be on an even playing field, and it'd probably be better off for everybody. But anyway, that's not the world we live in. So
No.
anyway, just an observation.
All right, do we have any other questions for the public hearing on this? Do we have any public comment on this item? Okay.
I'd like a motion.
We approve.
Well, no,
No,
I'm
it's a
going to
different
close
item.
the public hearing then, and then we'll move to item number 2. Consider and take action to readopt the Wichita County guidelines and criteria for tax abatements and reinvestment zones and authorize the county judge to sign the
Did
resolution.
you call the time of closing the public hearing?
I didn't actually do the time of opening the public hearing.
Okay.
Whoops.
Is that going to be a problem? No?
I don't think so.
I'll make that motion, Judge, to approve as presented.
I'll second.
And that's with a effective date of today and a sunset date of 1 year from today?
Yes.
Why don't we, can we make it effective like May 1st or so it's easier to track?
Commissioner Watts, are you good with that?
Oh, yeah. Mhm. And now, we do have, it says in order to remain eligible, the abatement of Wichita County property taxes, it must be completed and returned by February the 1st of each year of the years in which the agreement is in effect. Is that still okay on the application?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a different day.
Don't want to cross up your dates there.
Because that's for the reporting that they have
Of
to
the taxes.
provide. Yeah. All right. Do we have any public comment on this item? All right. Motion has been made by Commissioner Watts to readopt the guidelines, and seconded by Commissioner Beecham. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. All right, item number 3. Review and approve the regular bills for payment. Order county treasurer to disperse payroll and bill payments within 72 hours via U.S. mail, FedEx, UPS, or electronically unless directed otherwise, or may be picked up and ledgered in the treasurer's office.
So moved.
Second.
Barry, I'll let you have it.
All right, do we have any public comment on this item? All right, the motion has been made by Commissioner Fincannon, seconded by Commissioner Mahler. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 4, discuss, consider, and/or take action to approve one of 4 quotes that were submitted for air filter service at the LEC to be paid from Department 511 budget lines determined by the county auditor. We have 2 prestigious representatives from the sheriff's office on this item. Does one of y'all want to say anything? Look at each other.
Judge, I spoke to staff this morning, and their recommendation is to go with Trinity. It's the only bid that we received that actually has installation cost with it. After we pulled it a few weeks ago to ask a question about the MERV rating,
Mm-hmm.
none of the units have an actual requirement per MERV rating, so.
And Trinity includes labor?
And Trinity includes labor. It's
Yeah, the
only
labor
one,
cost is only $1,000 in that bid, if I'm looking at it right.
which is, with that number of air filters, that's a pretty good value. I would like to see what filters they put in, because it does not say.
And didn't we decide there's a bunch of them?
A whole lot.
I heard the number and I can't remember what it's big though.
The second quote has 522 total.
That sounds like the one, yeah.
And we've been running now a while, we're getting up close to when they need to be
They need
switched
to
out,
be
right?
done. Yeah, they're past.
I think they're supposed to be done quarterly, aren't they? It's been
We're
almost a year,
probably-
so.
So that's
Wow.
an annual bid for a quarterly service, is that what I'm understanding? That is an annual bid, I believe.
That's what it says.
Okay. I don't see on the quote there, I don't,
There's not very much on the quote.
no.
This is why we
But would we-
delayed it.
I mean, do we just take for granted that that's a quarterly service or?
No, we don't, because it says filter change, perform annual filter change on all HVAC systems in the
Annual,
quote.
annual.
It does.
That would
It
be
says
one
annual.
time.
And,
It does.
we really need to know, guys.
We do.
That's a pretty important part of that.
So we're pulling it again?
Well, if we are, we need to make it clear whose responsibility it is to go track down the information, because I think that's what happened
We'll do it.
last time.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I know this pushes it another week, but
Yeah.
Another
Better to
week.
have those questions answered and move
Yeah.
forward correctly.
And I hope it is an annual bid for quarterly service. If it is, then I think that's a good contract. But boy,
Yeah.
I wouldn't take
I
that
don't
for
think,
granted.
I don't think that's what that says.
no,
Yeah.
and,
The others aren't clear about that either.
well, the others aren't offering any filter,
Any
any
installation.
labor at all,
Just
so.
the materials, yeah.
Okay, then unless there's objection, I'm going to suggest we pull that down. Ask the
Yep.
sheriff's office, we'll get this on the agenda for next Monday, see if y'all can get any more details. And I think the failure last time was we didn't make it clear whose job it was. So this is not on y'all that we didn't get it done for this one. But
We were trying to get some other bids last time
yeah,
too.
so let's just pull it down today, put it on the agenda for next Monday, and if y'all will get the details needed for us to be able to make that decision. Okay. All right, then I'm gonna pull that off the agenda today.
Yes, we have no bananas.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, item number 5 is receive first quarter investment report from Cheryl Jones, County Auditor, and Murphy Davis Jr., CFA, President of Century Management. Invite whoever wants to come up first. Murphy, do you want to come up and,
Sure.
and if you will, just identify yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Judge, Commissioners, for having me. My name is Murphy Davis Jr. I'm the president of Century Management Incorporated. Century Management is a municipal advisor registered with the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, and then also a financial advisor. And so in both capacities, we are regulated by the SEC. We're investment advisors with the SEC. So just to give you a little bit of background in what we do, we help with municipalities, several municipalities around town. In fact, you were talking about the Owl Park Police and Fire Station. We were the financial advisor that advised them on that deal a couple of years ago. So I'm glad to hear that it was completed. But we do that capacity. We helped with the Wichita County Jail project, that bond issuance, and then we also help with investments. So this pertains more to the investment side, but the main thing is we are a local company, and we are a fiduciary to the county. So we're not a broker-dealer, or we're not associated with any broker-dealer. Paid a flat fee by our clients, and we basically are required to give you our best advice. So that's the capacity that we work in. I just brought a few things about the economy. Just wanted to run through it a little bit, give you a little bit of an update on rates and where your investments are. So just looking at this first sheet, this just kind of gives you a overview of what's happening in the economy. In the third and fourth quarter of 2022, GDP grew at 3.2% and 2.6%. We are seeing the economy slow down right now. As everyone knows, we've had a very sort of high inflation rate, and the Federal Reserve has been raising rates over the past year and a quarter or so, and those rates are starting to slow down the rest of the economy. As far as global impact is going to affect your rates. I mean, just because we're in Wichita Falls, everything that's happening in Ukraine, with China and Russia, that's going to have an impact on interest rates, and the Fed will take that into consideration. So that's been happening, and then we've also had a couple of bank failures that happened back in March. Silicon Valley Bank and also Signature Bank failed. The Fed stepped in and did a term lending program for banks, which basically said that the banks can borrow for their securities and just pledge those securities just to give the system liquidity. But there is still some concern about bank liquidity, going forward. And that facility lasts for 1 year. So, we'll see what they do going forward. But that's sort of where we are. Unemployment rate is still very low at 3.5%. That's been one part of the economy that's been very positive. The Fed fund target rate, which that affects all of the different rates. That affects prime, everything like that. Right now, that is at 4.75 to 5%. We expect more, volatility with the Ukraine war. Personal consumption expenditures, that's a measure of inflation. That's running at 5%, and the core is running at 4.6%. The Fed would like to see that at 2%. So even though they've raised rates, there is kind of a lag effect. Most market participants believe that the Fed will probably raise 1 more quarter% or they may pause at this point. So we should be sort of peaking on the rates unless we start to get other inflation numbers that are higher. The second page, this is just the top 60 economists from Bloomberg. So they put in what they believe is going to happen with rates. So the Fed funds rate, that's the one we were just talking about. They believe that second quarter, that's going to rise to 5.25% and then slowly start to come down. So by first quarter of next year, they're thinking that rate is going to be at 4.60, which would imply that the Fed starts to cut rates. They lower rates at the end of this year. The 10-year Treasury rate, as you can see, 10-year rates are lower than Fed funds rates. So the curve is inverted. And when the curve is inverted, that portends that probably rates are going to be coming down. That's what the market thinks. So they're not willing to pay a higher rate for longer rates. That they're thinking that rates are going to start to come down in the next year or so. And then finally on the rate side, this is Fed fund futures. If you look at the implied rate, in May, their next meeting is going to be May 3rd, and then June 14th, you can see the rate rises to 5.09. So there's a chance they're raising to 5.25%, but they may not. But right now we're at 5. So you can see by the end of the year, markets this is the Fed funds futures market. They believe they will be down to 4.53 by December. So that would imply a 50 basis point or 75 basis point cut in rates. And then the next few pages are just an overview of the current investment portfolio. The first one is schedule of investments. So the county has their funds in individual investments and then also in tax pool, which tax pool is like an overnight money market type account, so it's very short term. These are the other investments that you hold. So this breaks it out into different categories of what the county holds. It also gives you what the weighted average maturity of the portfolio is. So you can see the average maturity is for the whole portfolio is about 2.4 years right now. One thing that we've talked about in the investment meetings is shortening the life of the portfolio a little bit to comply with the investment policy. So we have let some of the maturities just roll off to not reinvest, or we're looking at investing in kind of shorter term to just make that part of the portfolio in compliance with what you have in your policy. If you look at the gain or loss on the portfolio, many of the investments were made during COVID when rates were very low. So that's why you see a lower yield than what you would just get on a money market. But you would basically have been earning zero for a couple of years if you just left it in the money market. It was paying no interest. So the county had to go ahead and invest some of it. And as this rolls off, it'll be reinvested at much higher rates right now. The second part is just a cash flow summary. So this shows what your cash flow looks like. We just watched this to make sure we have a fairly even schedule of what's going to roll off. And then it does it up and down 3%. So 100 basis points is basically 1%. So it's just telling you what would happen if rates went up 1%, down 1%. That's probably what you need to be looking at on this sort of thing, because barring some extreme event, the Fed is probably raising rates maybe a little more and then cutting rates slowly. They're not going to be cutting them super fast. And then the last part is just portfolio by maturity. This gives you a breakdown of exactly what the county holds. So, it's a mix of CDs, taxable municipals, U.S. government agencies, and some treasuries, I believe, in here. So that's going to be, all high-quality investments that you hold. They're all marketable. If you needed to sell them, you could. With the unrealized loss that you have, if they roll off, that it is unrealized. So the only way that you would take a loss is if you just needed to sell a lot of the funds, which, again, you have money in tax pool to help with operations, things like that. But as this rolls off, it'll be reinvested at some higher rates. And so I think that's about all that I have, but I'd be happy to answer a question.
The cash flow summary page, am I reading it wrong? But all of the numbers are the same across the year, no matter what the basis points is at the top.
Yes, it's going to be, because you have really no mortgage backs and most of the callable agencies that you own are at very low coupons, your cash flow is pretty much set.
Okay.
It's only it would do it if there were callables that were issued at current levels that could be called like in 3 months, something like that. The cash flow would change. If rates fell down, it would be called. So you'd have more cash flow. Okay. In this case, since they were all bought at very low coupons, there is no real change, even down 300. But that's what it does. It shocks it if there's some optionality in the investments.
And Murphy, I've got a question for you on this, our portfolio, when I look at it. Most of our CD out there right now, our current CDs are with First National.
Right, and actually since March 31st of this date, we have sold those, taken the loss, but we have reinvested them now in the much higher rates because their rates are over 5%. So we have sold those off and
With First National
First
again,
National,
and we've rebought with First
and we have
National.
rebought with First National.
Okay.
So we'll recoup what we lost on the new and higher rate investment.
Yes, that is correct.
What was the time frame for the recoup? For
I don't know what that was.
Well, there probably would be a penalty.
Yeah.
Could be 3 months of interest,
Yeah.
something like that. But at 1% going to 5%,
Right.
it's going to be extremely short. It should be extremely short. And that's one thing we talked about at the investment committee meeting was
Yeah,
just
we
doing
broke that
that.
6 million up into a 6 month, 12 month, and an 18 month. So,
And on that, Murphy, are you aware of any entities like ours that use that CD leverage as to borrow against?
I wouldn't know on CDs. It seems like that would be a little bit harder to pledge, as a borrowing. You possibly could with the bank. I mean, with First National Bank, it's a possibility that since it is their CD. As far as borrowing against like agencies, treasuries, things like that, they would be a more marketable or across different spectrums where you could possibly do that. But no, I haven't heard of that.
Entities typically don't do that a lot, or?
Not really, unless it's going to be some sort of pledging that you can pledge and borrow short term, that sort of thing. So No, you could put it up possibly as collateral, I guess, on a loan, you know, that could be something that you could do, but, it would be more like a private placement type of deal, so.
Do we have any other questions for Murphy? Okay,
Okay?
thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Cheryl?
Yeah, our report, you should have a copy in your packet. We really just took this same data right out of Hilltop and just sort of broke it down into where you could see what belonged to the general fund, what belonged to reserve for self-insurance. Road and Bridge currently has no investments. When those matured last year, we left them because we were still, at that time, we were debating the road and bridge tax and whether or not you needed your funds liquid, and so we have not reinvested those currently. Something that's on probably the to-do list, but we're gonna need to confer with you guys on what your spending needs are gonna be first, so. So that's the breakdown of that. We've got $27 million worth in the general operating. Reserve for self-insurance is earning money because we don't really do anything with it. And then we have it broken out by maturity as well, similar to Hilltop. While there is an unrealized loss, we do have to show that on our books. So that goes on our financial statements when I prepare those for the end of the year. So we have shown a loss on our investments for several years running. We would like that to eventually get positive, but that may take some time as we roll off those older investments that were bought for 5-year periods for not much interest. As we re-ladder those out. And then we also gave a historical balance comparison by quarter, well, for compared to last year at this time, so.
Just for a little more clarification, explain an unrealized loss.
So the unrealized loss is the market value versus what we bought it for.
Right.
So currently, the market value is showing a loss. As those
Sure.
Get to maturity, that typically goes down, and we hopefully will break even and maybe earn money, but it also depends on whether or not we sell it and have a realized loss,
Yeah.
which, that's why Bob always preached we hold to maturity. That's not always the best policy. Sometimes you want to take a realized loss and make it up for it
In a better investment.
better investment. Yes.
Because the market value is what you're going to be. If you needed to
If we need to
sell that on
sell
the
it
market
right now,
today, that's what it would go for.
that is correct.
So we're,
Basically what happens is, as rates go up, prices go down. It's an
Sure.
inverse relationship. So the unrealized loss is going to get lower and lower as you get to maturity, because the interest rate change is less impacted the closer you get to maturity. And then when it matures, it's at zero, it's at par, so
Right.
basically. So even though they might be at a $94 price right now, when it matures, it will be at 100. And so it's basically, if you were to have to sell it today, it's just estimating what the value of the security would be today, is what
It's
it is.
almost an opportunity cost, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes.
and that's sort of what Cheryl did with the CDs. We said at 1%, it's worth taking the loss or the penalty. On a CD, it's more like a penalty.
Yeah.
On a investment, it's market value. But take that and go ahead and reinvest it, and that penalty payback period is what you're sort of looking at. How much are we gonna make extra during the period?
And Cheryl, what makes the difference? Murphy, on your schedule of investments, we show a total portfolio of 27, current book value, but our grand total on here, is less, and I didn't know where the difference lies.
That is a very good question, since I prepared this. Let me see if I can figure it out real quick.
Well, it would be taking into account the prospective loss, I guess, wouldn't it? If you cashed it out, isn't that the difference?
Well, I didn't know whether maybe
Where are
this
you
money
starting?
shows the
Right.
general fund balance in, on top of maybe the portfolio or the invested monies?
Current book value 27, which is what?
Go down one
Look.
page,
Okay.
the other way. Yeah, no, you were right. What's that
Okay.
one?
Okay, so it's this one.
I can't.
No, I'm still not seeing
Go,
it.
go back the other way.
It's one
It
of,
looks like it's a difference in the
Yeah.
two sheets have different
Yeah.
face values on,
Yes, we got.
what is it, the difference between 27 and 25 or something like that?
No,
isn't
it's
that-
the difference between 20 and 27.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I found it now. Okay.
Cheryl, I think it is a spreadsheet calculation error, because
It
like in the
looks like there is, yes.
2027 number, for example, those all agree, but it didn't get the 4 for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like he's got a formula error.
Oh, I bet the formula, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
same-
he's
it's the
got a
same on
formula error.
26, and-
Yeah, same on the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's what it is. just
Yes.
Formula.
it's a formula.
It's kind of tough on you to be locked into long-term investments at a pretty low rate and then go through an inflationary period because, boy, the gap just continues to grow. It looks like the cost of doing business is going up, and so the quicker you can get those rolled over into
Yes.
better paper has got to be a
Right,
good
the
thing.
question on some of this is, as we have discussed, is we may not be able to get rid of it, because no one's gonna wanna buy it
Yeah,
at that
that's a good
rate. So
point.
we may have to hold it to maturity, because what are,
Well, and would they want to discount it?
Well, the problem you run into is if you were, let's say in 1 year, we decided to sell a security and then purchase another one. Well, your book loss would go away, you would take the book loss, but basically you would sell on the bid side of the market and buy on the ask side of the market. So you basically just lower your return by doing that. Now, as far as selling to go ahead and extend out and lock in some rates, I think you should keep reinvesting and locking in rates to the extent that you can a little further out, just because of what we were talking about. As rates start to fall or the Fed cuts rates, then those short rates will start to come back down. So right now, tech school pays a higher rate. I don't know exactly
Mhm.
what's paying, but probably 4.90
Yeah.
is what it's paying.
yeah,
So it seems like a better thing to keep it in text pool than to invest out at lower rates, but it's kind of counterintuitive. You really should go ahead and lock it in before the rates start to fall.
Yeah, especially
is-
when you look at that chart that's going to show us softening
Yes.
Right.
into the
Right.
first of next year. This opportunity may not be very widespread.
that is correct, and that's why we're trying to, some of that we're going ahead and selling and reinvesting, and then some of it we're gonna be pulling out of text pool probably as we see these coming up to really high rates. Our first goal was to get under the weighted average maturity that would be sustainable, because while we are currently under, as some of these shorter ones are starting to mature, it's gonna make that weighted average maturity go up, so we're trying to balance that as well, so.
I feel like this has been discussed before, and I apologize, I've forgotten. The reserve for self-insurance, is
Yes,
there anything we are still self-insuring on?
district clerk and the county clerk.
So the 2.7 is that a holdover from a previous time when we were self-insured on other things?
Oh, yeah, that
Yeah.
money is just developed, and there is a fee for reserve for self-insurance that's still collected on various cases that just goes in there and just accumulates. But currently, the county clerk and district clerk are self-insured, so.
So
Should
we
there-
are, that money is restricted for that specific purpose?
Yes,
Okay.
for some kind of self-insured. If we decided we wanted to be fully self-insured again and get out of TAC, which I do not recommend, let me just clarify, I don't recommend that, then we would use that fund for that as well.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on the investment report for either? Okay, this is great information and extremely helpful. Glad we're getting to see this quarterly now.
And Murphy, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Murphy. Thanks, Sherry.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, did we have any public comment on this side? Okay, all right, thank you, Murphy. All right, and that brings us to our final item. Receive update on courthouse renovation, elevator projects, and county courthouse annex. Commissioner Beecham.
Started the annex, still in abatement. Still haven't got the final cost of what the abatement will be. It should be less than what we originally started with because they changed means and methods, so they're not gonna have to do as much.
You're not gonna have to do as much?
They're not gonna have to do as much, so they're not gonna have to take the hard cap down. Yeah, they're still working on the exterior front, coming a long way on that. It looked like they had got a lot of the upper story coloring done, so be moving down to the lower stories. It's looking really good outside. Move over to this building. We had a very busy, hectic week last week, trying to prepare for the move of the district clerk's office and HR. They are in their new location, still moving over stuff. They moved Friday afternoon and over the weekend. Still have some work left to be completed there, but at least they're in their permanent homes. From that, we've got the district clerk's area, which is under demolition as we speak. We still even have all their stuff out, but we're up there doing demolition as we're trying to move everything out. Hopefully in about 6 weeks, that will be the temporary 30th District Court. If everything moves according to plan, that's what will happen. Danielle's area is got 2 coats of paint, need 1 more coat of paint. They should put the floor down, I believe, next Monday and Tuesday. It's scheduled for floor. Then after that, they can move back in. So that's a very quick turnaround for them, and needs to be because they're just in a closet. Had some very interesting discussions with TK Elevator last week, and I won't go into the gory details, but it got really interesting. Bottom line is they're going to be here tomorrow with the new cart construction, and they were here last week with the renovation cart construction, and almost have that one complete. So maybe we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. That's why we saw 3 bills that were put forward for payment this morning. So painful discussion, but maybe we got some movement.
Well, and you and I talked about this morning, but just for the other commissioners to hear. Was speaking with Judge McKnight and the other judges this morning. They have been able to coordinate a nice schedule that has allowed for Judge McKnight to, well, it's not the same as having, you know, your former office or former court. Everybody is able to make this work, and to make it work for a while, I think. And so, as Commissioner Beecham and I were talking about this morning, it has helped. We still have every bit the time crunch to try to get that done as quickly as possible. But there may be a little bit more of a window if we have a question of being able to do it on the front end once rather than on
Like the wall discussion.
Yeah, there's a little bit more of a cushion there than maybe we thought there would have been even a week ago. Does that sound fair, Judge Kennedy?
It does,
Yeah.
And we have some questions to answer once we start into demolition. When we get the ceiling tiles pulled, we'll know more about what's up there and what we can do quickly and what we need to put off to a later date. If there's something that we can do quickly to make that a finished product for moving forward, then we will go ahead and incorporate that in. If it's not, then we will move it down. So things that we could do is we're talking about putting the cap, hard ceiling on the jury deliberation room for soundproofing purposes. I believe we'll go ahead and do that, but as for the offices, probably not, but I can't say absolute for certain until we get the ceiling tiles off and see what we've got. Are we gonna have to move HVAC equipment, et cetera, if it requires a lot of mechanical movement? Then probably not this time. We don't have time. But that would move it 3 or 4 months down the road. But I won't know answers until we get it open. It's like doing exploratory surgery right now.
Well, and everybody across the courthouse has been very good at accommodating, and everybody's pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, can't say enough good things about everyone in the courthouse working together under some very trying conditions and trying times, but everybody's been wonderful. So thank you to everyone.
TK in the building tomorrow.
TK's gonna be here tomorrow.
And what is the shape of the 30th right now, Mark, moisture-wise? I mean, are we got it dry?
I did not get my moisture report this morning. I just didn't have time to get with everyone this morning. So I walked by there. It didn't seem to have the fans going. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
What have you been doing?
I've been checking we're trying to find electrical circuits.
No, I don't think anybody up here is questioning how hard you've been working on that and all the different things you've been trying to do. So that's good.
There's a lot going on, a lot to juggle right now. And I just appreciate everyone's patience.
Okay.
When we took our tour Friday, our Zoom rooms,
Yeah.
do they have to be soundproof rooms?
Depends on what you're using them for.
Judge,
It depends on what
They
you're
should
using.
they should be.
Because long-term, if you're talking about moving CPS to the second floor, to the extent that they would use those Zoom rooms, you could have a confidential hearing going on in those rooms, so they probably should be. And and we anticipate them also being used as attorney-client conversations, so they should be separate. Or at least some strong sound barrier.
Yeah, and we've looked at things, if we have an issue, we've looked at white noise separation, mechanical or electronic white noise, which is very useful for that. It's not useful when you're recording a conversation, but it is useful for masking conversation. So we did an experiment out at the LEC with white noise, and it did not help with the recording quality that was required in those rooms, but it did help with being able to hear conversations going on out in the hallway. So that is an option. Those walls were pretty much left intact from what they were. They are plaster walls, so they're not like drywall, so they're not going to conduct as much sound as a hollow drywall would. But I don't know, until we get in there, I don't know.
Do we have any other questions on that?
And HR is underway right now, going into their new,
Everybody's moving except the law library.
and so is the district clerk got a service windows open yet?
They're open. They're open and
They're open for
operational.
business.
Okay,
And I've got to get them some temporary signs because no one knows where to go.
right.
Because the signs haven't come in yet.
I guess we will revert back to securing that back door.
It's locked and
Does it still work?
it still works.
Electronic entry?
Yeah.
Same code that we had?
Same card key to get in.
Is the ramp still back there?
The ramp is still back there.
The ski slope.
probably for a few more weeks until we get that elevator project completed, because there's still equipment, et cetera, that needs to go down that ramp. So I would like to get it out of there because it's pretty slippery.
Judge McKnight, are you making it okay? So far, so good?
And we're surviving. As of right now, between Judge Kennedy and Judge King, we've got everything covered at least through April. And right now, my coordinator's working on securing a place through May. We're just kind of, because everybody's schedule changes so much, I'm not trying to go too far out. So we're making it.
That kind of cooperation is appreciated, and I know it's appreciated by the constituents and the taxpayers. That's what our team does. That's what we do, and we ought to be proud of that.
Yeah. We did have some pretty good, fruitful meetings last week on the future of the 30th District Court and how it can be arranged within the same existing footprint that it used to exist in. I think we have a pretty solid plan going forward. It's not finalized at this point, but it is a very solid plan to give the 30th District some things that it's desperately in need of to make it function more in the modern world. So,
And I think the current trending plan for the 30th will save a lot of demo because it uses a lot of existing structure
yes,
as opposed to a complete gut and redo.
yeah, it keeps 95% of the existing footprint intact and very little demo, just mostly build back, and there'll be some added walls for some additional meeting rooms, move a jury assembly to what was the lawyer's lounge, and that will be divided into a couple of other attorney-client type meeting rooms as well. So, but it keeps it all within the same existing footprint that we had, so, which is good.
Y'all would see other, I guess, like, I know at church, the pews went away, and now they have the seating, and is that a trend that you see? Is that something, when you look at courtroom out there is that occurring, or is, I was unaware, and Mark made the comment that some of the veneer had, really gonna be messed up on your pews a lot. I just wondered if that was still, if you built a courtroom today, would you choose pews to go in the courtroom, or would it be a seating arrangement that's more like what y'all are in?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I really don't. I would be hesitant of cloth, just from a long-term standpoint.
Long-term, those pews are hard to beat. They'll stand the test of time.
I don't know the answer to that question.
I've wondered about that.
I haven't given that part of it much thought yet.
I do sometimes feel for the folks who have to sit on the pew for an hour or two and avoid tiring.
It is hard for some of them, but chairs can be difficult in their own way for some.
Yeah.
Chairs can be picked up and used as a weapon.
Well, yeah.
It's hard to do that with those pews.
Look, these chairs are kind of, they're bolted together, so.
Yeah, they all attach, but they're
I bet you'd be
individual.
surprised.
But you could get
what a
spills
new
or
pew costs.
dirty, or you
Yeah,
have
I can't imagine. I would bet that's a
constraints
very
for
expensive
size.
deal.
Yeah, I'd hesitate, for as much as your courtroom is used, I'd hesitate to use cloth chairs for the long term. But this is not used nearly as much, and by nearly as rowdy of a crowd, usually.
Stadium seat bleachers in there.
No,
Now we're talking.
no,
You'll find them in this.
no,
Well, I think there were some in CCL too you could just reuse.
no. They were missing seats. Maybe if they tear down another baseball field or somewhere, we can just get
Texas
some,
Ranger seats are available, so. Yeah.
some used ones
Used ones, yeah.
with cup holder.
Are we inviting them to stay for a long time?
Yeah.
Do we have any public comment on this item? All right. Then with that, It's 11:11, and the court is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.